Hi, my name's Dr. Abigail Collins, and I'm a consultant in public health medicine, and I've been working with the HSE as part of the school's responses since the schools opened back in September. I'm just here to talk a little bit today about the return to school for the Leaving Cert students to receive some on-site education in advance of these really important priority Leaving Cert examinations. So in the context of us all being asked to restrict our movements and stay at home as much as possible, I'm sure many of you are wondering how is it possible that it's safe for Leaving Cert students to attend for on-site teaching opportunities and face-to-face learning opportunities. And what I want to reassure you is that this has been heavily prioritised within the restrictions and the restricted movements, because we know how important these exams are, and we know how safe post-primary education can be with all the right mitigation measures in place. As I said, I've been working as part of the school's response since the schools opened in September, and we've been very closely following what's happened in the secondary schools throughout the whole term, when we've had peaks of COVID-19 infections in the community and when we've had lower levels too. And what we do know is that post-primary schools, with the right mitigation measures in place, are very safe places for our students to be. So it's really important that we allow the small amount of movement required for students and staff members to come into schools for those days for on-site teaching to occur, to best protect their opportunities with the Leaving Cert examinations this coming summer. So in terms of how we can ensure it's safe for Leaving Cert students to have face-to-face educational opportunities, it requires us to really think carefully about what we're doing and how we are minimising our contacts, and how we're making sure that when we travel to and from the schools, that is done as carefully as possible and involves as little additional unnecessary movement and interaction as possible. So it's really important that we look at the three elements to keep our schools safe. And the first part of that stays within the family setting, within the household setting. So making sure that we all obey the national measures that are required of everybody, except for those with the very few exceptions, such as Leaving Cert students given the opportunity to continue with their learning options. So it's really important that everyone else restricts their movements and restricts their social engagements to try and make sure that the community levels of COVID-19 go down as soon as possible. And it also makes sure that everybody is safe. So within the household, if everyone's restricting their movements as much as possible, and there is no one with any signs or symptoms of infection, that space is as safe as possible before you go to school. So the really important message there is, if anybody in the house has signs or symptoms of COVID-19 infection, that the person does not leave the house, and those household family members do not leave the house until it is certain whether that is a COVID-19 infection or not. So that's a really important message. There is no influenza currently circulating in Ireland. So if you have signs or symptoms of the sort of cold, flu-y type things, that it is COVID-19 until proven otherwise, and keep our schools as safe as possible by not attending. The second part is to make sure that going to school and when we're in the classroom space, we attend to all the mitigation measures as we have been doing over the previous term. So it's really important that you stay with the socially distanced approach that you have going into and out of school, and maintain that within the classroom setting as per normal with your desks. It's also really important that everyone uses their face coverings, and that the hand hygiene and respiratory etiquette at all times is optimised. This is also really important in the break times. And I know at some point we all need to let our guard down for a few minutes and relax, but we can't let it down when it comes to the infection control measures. It's so important that we keep those in place. But the good news is that, having looked at what's happened over the past term and all the testing that we have done where there have been cases of COVID-19 and we've looked for close contacts, the onward transmission in this post-primary setting, it's very low, and we can be reassured that if we do the right things and keep all those measures in place and don't present to school if we have any signs or symptoms, that can be a safe space. And the final part is really for the principals to contact the HSE as soon as possible if they have any concerns, or be reassured that when we get informed of any cases, we will be in contact with you and undertake our risk assessments and organise any testing as required. So it's really important that Leaving Cert students have this opportunity to attend for us some on-site education and face-to-face learning. But with that comes a huge responsibility to make sure that we keep that space safe for everybody. So this is just to provide a little bit of information to reassure people that the classroom space is a safe space for people to be in, but it requires us to make sure that we attend to all the other recommended public health measures, that everyone else limit their movements as much as possible, and absolutely no one attends into the school setting if they or anyone in their household has any symptoms that could be consistent with COVID-19, to keep that space as safe as possible and to make sure they adhere to all the recommendations and mitigation measures within the school space as have been recommended and undertaken over the previous term.